The dream of the pneumatic tube will never die. There are a few quirks from mainstream, an oddity at bank drive-thrus, a retro vision of a smokeless and frictionless future. But the hope lives with inventions like the Hyperloop that try to combine pneumatic tubes and maglev for high-speed transport. The thing most people don't know is how long that dream has been alive, and that they've been trying to move people for more than 150 years. Pneumatic tubes are pretty simple. At their most basic, a sealed tube allows a fan to make a vacuum. When a canister pops into place, a fan whirs to life and creates a difference in air pressure that sucks the tube to its destination. As early as the 1850s, people adapted artificial vacuums for powering the mail system, and they sent lots of packages, including cats. The New York City Underground pneumatic mail system launched in 1897. It carried the mail from one post office to another. The first canister had a Bible, a flag, and a copy of the Constitution. As an inside joke, the second carried an imitation peach. The third had a black cat. It survived. Operators called themselves rocketeers, and at its peak, the system could send 200,000 letters an hour. It wasn't close to the first. Pneumatic mail systems were surprisingly common. They'd been running in London since the 1850s and were in Paris, Prague, Philadelphia, and tons of other places. But as cities spread out and automobiles developed, tubes became too difficult to install, maintain, and staff. They saw more widespread adoption in department stores, offices, and yes, banks. NASA used tubes for memos. As inter-office mail, tubes were more practical until smaller offices and email made them an extravagance there, too. But the dream was always bigger than that. They wanted to put people in the canisters. Before the mail was the pneumatic railway, including New York's first subway system, 30 years before construction of today's familiar underground subway began. Opened in 1870, Alfred Ely Beach's experimental subway debuted under Broadway, modeled on experiments in England. It sold more than 400,000 short rides as just an experiment. For New Yorkers of the era, it wasn't a subway. It was an advance in civilization. Like London's Crystal Palace atmosphere in the 1860s, it promised easy, clean transport. But Beach's proof of concept closed before more stations could be built. Investors got scared. There was no pneumatic disaster, just reality. The same thing that eventually took down the mail took down the pneumatic subway. It wasn't easy or cheap enough to be sustainable. The airless tube had too much friction. Pneumatic tubes are still around. Until 2011, they were used in at least one McDonald's drive-thru, and they're still used in hospitals to transport lab samples quickly and safely from one floor to another. But it's the Hyperloop that has the original spirit, the conviction that the pneumatic tube isn't a pipe dream. It's the idea, part Victorian, part Jetsons, that tubes won't just push people from one place to another, but maybe into the future, too.
Any history of pneumatic tubes is going to involve a lot of omissions. I had to leave out the trash disposal on Roosevelt Island, pneumatic dating, and also the pioneering pneumatic mail in Philadelphia, where they sent a rooster, guinea pigs, and a goldfish in a goldfish bowl through the pneumatic, and none of them were injured.